Welcome back to As Art with Nick and John. Today we're going to go over the season finale of His Dark Materials. John, what did you think of the series?
So first thing that I want to talk about, at least in regards to this last episode, I want to talk about the series as a whole, but this last episode, just absolutely beautiful. The lighting from so when they got to his kind of laboratory up in the mountains at the end of the episode before, I was like, oh, that's gorgeous. I hope they continue that more in this one. And they did, and it just looks absolutely beautiful. You get these auroras from the area just lighting, and the lighting's kind of shifting to get the gradations. And
I think the lighting was perfect because it creates almost like a magical holy place. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, because you're on top of the mountain, and very kind of biblical sense too. Mm-hmm. Like the whole idea, like Moses and other people in the Bible will go to the mountaintop to kind of, you know, and it's like almost like they're on top of like the highest Everest peak or whatever in this. Spoilers ahead, just in case you haven't watched the episode. I'm just putting spoilers just in case. I just wanted people to know, but like it's so biblical in a sense almost too, and then obviously talking about the Adam and the Eve story and like how they see dust as sin. It was very, very beautifully shot. The action sequences were blended in perfectly into the environment with the polar bears, and from her perspective, it's just like, man, it was done so good and so right.
Yeah, and so we had just finished The Witcher just before watching this, and you know what? Nick was a lot harder on The Witcher than I was, but one thing you can say for sure is you can tell the difference in the budget. Absolutely. Everything in His Dark Materials is absolute cinema quality grade. You don't see any imperfections. Now I'm just watching on a regular 1080 screen. So if you're watching in 4K, HDR, maybe there's more better things to see, or maybe you see imperfections. But for me, just watching on regular consumer stuff,
and it doesn't. I mean, it helps.
Was absolutely gorgeous
having HBO and BBC, back your show. So
I would love, and I know that especially Netflix doesn't release this stuff. I don't know about HBO Go, but I'd be curious to very, very much know what the actual budget on all these series have been. Like Netflix with The Witcher, or Game of Thrones, or His Dark Materials, or Watchmen, like that. There's certainly limitations and doors that open up the bigger budget you have. Doesn't mean you can't tell compelling stories, but you have to stay within those constraints, which can be very difficult.
And then also maybe like 8 extra weeks never hurts anything either. Because like Witcher releases everything on the release date, where they might still be working on the next episode after it releases.
I'm sure they are.
You know what I mean? Like they go down to the last moment kind of thing.
I'd imagine principal photography is all done. Maybe they have pickup shoots that they actually, for sure have to have them for reshoots, but visual effects and polishing, I'm sure it comes down to pretty close to, maybe I'm wrong, but I imagine they have some leeway.
Yeah, they have an extra 8 weeks, you know what I mean? Which is huge in visual effects land, for time.
For sure.
To go over shots and review stuff and all that.
But like, for instance, there's one shot inside of the laboratory when the mom arrives and her demon is in this very dark room. There's a strong red light source, and this demon just fits perfectly into that environment. And it's, it has like, I think a pole, shadow casting on, but everything just, you got to remember, I mean, pretty much every person except for the witches always have a demon right next to them. And you hardly ever look at them and say, oh, that's taking me out of it. That's not looking real. It fits in perfectly.
So well. It's comped in so well.
Yeah.
Do you think it was done in post, the lighting? Do you think it was compositing, or do you think they lit it with the colors?
You mean the actual
lighting
demons,
and the blues and the reds and the oranges and stuff?
Oh, I'm sure that was on set because that'd have been too hard to do.
I just was curious.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess because to get realistic lighting, they would have had to completely recreate all the faces and things like that. I think they just they probably took very precise lighting, probes and stuff on the set. Okay, this is the lighting. We can use this as a reference. Then we build it from there. Image-based lighting, things like that. But even when you have all those tools, it's still very, very, very difficult to make everything match up.
Dude, you have I don't want to say professionals aren't working on the other ones, but like you have at least dedication to lighting and green screen. And I think what really helps is sets. HBO uses a lot of sets in their shows, and I think that really helps because it's not like they're relying on green screen and so much where it's like, let's build the mountain so they can act on the mountain. Let's build this little place they're going to be in. You know what I mean? Like they really do great set design, even going back to Game of Thrones and even Watchmen and all the other, you know what I mean? Like HBO, they like to build sets, and I think that's going to help for the longevity of these shows to hold up too. You know what I mean? That's why I think Lord of the Rings holds up, because they built so many sets compared to The Hobbit, where it was mostly green screen, and even the original Star Wars, they were on sets. You know, they built the hallways, desert, and you know what I mean. Like, and I think maybe even the new Star Wars, they use puppets and stuff, which I think will help for the longevity with the visual effects and characters interacting and stuff. And it's just they did a fantastic job, and I'm super excited to read the books now. You know, the books were a thing, but now I want to read the books, and also I'm super excited for season 2.
That's the ultimate compliment you get, is when you see something on screen that you know usually can't surpass the books typically, and you want to read the material. You're just like, okay, this really affected me, because I want to spend hours and hours reading the books. And I think I'm kind of in the same boat. I have a few things in the queue that I want to read, that I've been wanting to read for a while, but that's like, I'm very intrigued to read these books now. Yeah. And you know what? I always love allegory when you make biblical references and it kind of gives a deeper meaning. But that whole Adam and Eve thing, and how the magisterium wants to give a certain perspective on, they're doing their interpretation for you. And before literacy in the world, that's what basically the church did. The church, there was very few people outside the church that could read, and they read it and they dictated how it was interpreted to the people. And that's kind of what they're representing with the magisterium. They changed history when the father and the daughter were reciting. She said evil and he said dust. And it's like, okay, this has been altered over time. And obviously there's been a lot of translations from the Bible and things like that. So it's an interesting take, whether you're religious or not. It's just fun when you get that allegory and you get those biblical references.
I mean, technically,
and how it can be.
The Bible's written by man. You can say inspired by God, but it's still someone. Yeah. And then man also translates it into different versions.
Well, that's the biggest thing is when you go from Aramaic to, you know, say the closest you can get in modern language in English is the King James. But then when you go to all these translations, there's, you know, even if they're trying to make it as absolutely close to the source material as you can, it's still being interpreted a certain way. But anyway, so I didn't want to get too far off that, but I just love that they have those elements. They brought in Adam and Eve, and then they even tied it together. Like, when did she have a demon? Oh, when the snake, you know, when she ate the fruit from the snake. And then, so it's like, they really are doing a great job.
So who was Adam's demon?
I know, who was Adam's demon? But so it's a really fun way. I really love, and you know, it's funny because my favorite parts aren't the action parts. It's just the dialogue. Like when the dad was talking to Lyra and just they were having that conversation, that's when you were getting not just exposition and story, but you're getting this deep, almost philosophical conversation.
And you're getting into the character's head. We're finding out more who her dad is, and it's even more of a like a whoa, that moment on top of the mountain. You know what I mean? Like,
and the mom too. Yeah.
And the mom. No, I think everyone's character is developing so well. I think the one I want to learn more about is Will. Yeah. I feel like we don't get to see too much of Will. Right? Like, I mean, well, him talking and stuff, we know he has to, like, he was like taking care of his mom and stuff like that. But I'm really excited to see when he crosses over into the world. Like, she walked into a white hallway. Is he just gonna pop out of another like doorway in the hallway? It's like the key maker from the Matrix. You know, like it
is kind of like the key maker.
It's like these different doors that lead to different universes and stuff. And it's like, how is she even gonna find her dad at this point? The dad could have kept walking and not made a left-hand turn. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I love, by the way, just talking about that hallway, that kind of portal she walked through. I love the look of that. You know, when that energy was released and it opened up, it looked like a combination of 2D and 3D. It looks like nerves, that they made it with.
It almost felt like a nervous system, almost, didn't it? Like,
it was like it was really beautiful. The design on it was wonderful. I'm assuming that Will's going to come out somewhere else. I assume it's just like a doorway that comes out in a different predefined spot. But I'm really fascinated to see what it's going to be like. Because, I mean, we've already have 2 worlds established. We kind of have our more world where Will came from. Then we have the more fantastical world where Lyra's coming from. And now we're going off into this
multiverse. I
guess almost like Zeus's universe, if we were talking about that mythology, where it's like the, you know, Valhalla or whatever it is.
Yeah, it could be.
So it's going to be very
great heaven. It could be the great Grey Havens from Lord of the Rings. It could be anything because they're going through the multiple universe.
But I'm really excited to see what that's like. And you know, one thing that I loved more than anything about this episode, I kind of talked about, you know, the dad. We thought it was always dad, good guy, mom, bad person, and it's really kind of crossed over to the point where one of my favorite lines in the episode was the mom was talking to the guy that was kind of helping at the laboratory, and he, the guy had the gun on her, and she said, "You're not going to shoot me." And she said, like everybody else, he didn't treat you well either, and he kind of lowered his gun after that, and he didn't argue with it. It's like, so this guy is not an angel himself.
Yeah.
And then you finally understood why is the mom trying to slice off the demons. Well, her reasons are almost like the Crusades. It's like, we're going to the Crusades to bring Christianity to the world and to fight off the other religions. But at the same time, it's like, well, yeah, but you're killing all kinds of people trying to do it. It's kind of that same thing. And then you have but both sides, whether you're the dad, the mom, or the magisterium, they completely 100% feel they are doing the right thing. And it's not like they're doing bad things. They truly believe that they're doing the right thing. And I love it when, and it's not just like, oh, we're trying to not be typical and having good and evils, but this feels kind of real world stuff to where it's like you're influenced by the world around you and the people you have around you, and your beliefs, kind of dictate your actions. And so I really appreciate how deep this is. And again, this goes back to the source material that's obviously very strong.
Yeah, totally. And I'm super stoked for the next one. I really am.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to get Kyle back because I have so many questions for Kyle.
and I think the series is going to continue to be very good over time. One, because the material is already out there, and two, just like you said, they have the budget to kind of, no matter what environment we go to, we can be confident they're going to be able to keep it going. And if they didn't have Game of Thrones before this, because Game of Thrones, the visual effects got more complex as they went. This, they're starting off really kind of hardcore straight out the gate, but it's probably because of the success and the money they probably have through that. So I'm super, super excited about it. I want to read the books, but at the same time, I want to keep the show.
You just want to watch the show and totally enjoy the show. Yeah, I understand it, but I'm the type of person where I'll probably pick up the books.
I can't decide.
But
I may or may not.
If you're interested, we brought a buddy on who's read the books before. It was like maybe over 5 years ago, but it was really cool because I was able to ask him certain questions, just like we're talking about how like their spirit animals are always the opposite sex of what they were, and that's something I noticed before. But we're gonna leave the video link in the cards, and also at the end of the video, go check it out. We cover a lot of different questions about the main characters too and stuff, and we get some insight, not full spoilers for like end of the road kind of stuff, but like what could happen in the next episode and why certain things work, and how you could even have a fish for a spirit animal. And remember how he brought up that whole story in the book out there, he was like restricted to like the water or something because he couldn't leave, he couldn't go on the shore. And it was just so cool because that's like world building stuff that I really get into.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you can describe it. It's not spoiler material, it's world building they wouldn't be able to probably dedicate screen time to, but stuff that you would enriches the world. And on the actual spoiler discussion they had, other than me introducing it, I took out my headphones and had no part of that. So there was a spoiler one as well, but it was a really fun video with Kyle. And obviously he's not going to know anything, and he read everything, and he read the books a long time ago, so he was a little bit rusty on certain things. But if you want a little bit more into the world without getting everything spoiled for you, there's that video that Nick will put in the description.
Also, and then if you want to check out our podcast, just go to our website, asart.space. We're on iTunes and Spotify. If you like the lighting too, please let us know in the comments down below. And we'll see you next time.